The number was $72.70, the highest silver has ever traded in all of modern history, and at that exact same moment, on the other side of the world, the biggest silver fund in China collapsed 10% in a single day, and the man managing that fund looked at his investors and used one word that fund managers never say in public: unsustainable. So right now, two things are happening at the same time that have never happened together before, and what comes next could change everything you thought you knew about silver. Welcome back, everyone. You are watching John Stark AG. Now, before anything else, if you have never subscribed to this channel before, here is what this channel would like you to do right now. Think of that old friend, the one who has been calling every week for years, the one who always picks up the phone, the one who never lets you down when you need real, honest answers. That is what this channel has been for thousands of people around the world. So if nobody has asked you lately, this channel is asking you now. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Not for the algorithm, not for the numbers, but because the kind of information being shared here every single week deserves a permanent seat at your table, just like that old trusted friend. One click, that is all it takes. And while you are at it, drop a comment down below and let everyone know. Where in the world are you watching this from today? For years, silver traders around the world talked about one number: $70. They talked about it the way people talk about something they believe in but are never quite sure they will actually see. A finish line that seemed to keep moving further away every time the market got close. A level that existed more in conversation than in reality. And then, without much warning, reality caught up. This week, silver did not just approach $70, it broke through it, and it kept going. At one point during this week's trading sessions, silver reached as high as $72.70 per ounce. That number is not just impressive. That number is officially the highest price silver has ever traded at in the entire history of modern financial markets. Let that land for a moment. In a world filled with noise, uncertainty, and conflicting headlines, silver quietly did something that no market analyst, no economist, and no central bank had been able to guarantee. It made history. But here is the part that serious investors need to understand. Here is the part that separates the people who react from the people who analyze. At the exact same moment that silver was breaking records on one side of the planet, something else was happening on the other side. In China, a country that has become one of the most powerful forces in the global silver market, the only major fund that gives everyday Chinese investors direct access to silver prices, suffered a devastating single-day drop of 10%. Not 2%, not 5%. The full maximum daily limit that Chinese financial regulations allow. A complete wall-to-wall collapse in a single trading session. And the manager of that fund stepped forward publicly and did something that almost never happens in the world of institutional asset management. He told his investors the truth. He called the recent gains unsustainable. Now, to the average viewer, that might sound like standard financial caution, a simple disclaimer. But to anyone who understands how fund managers communicate, especially in China's tightly managed financial culture, that word carries enormous weight. Fund managers do not use language like that unless they are genuinely concerned, unless the situation has moved beyond normal market fluctuation into something that requires a public statement to manage. So the picture that was emerging this week was deeply contradictory. On one hand, silver reaching levels never seen before in modern history, a price that screamed strength, momentum, and global demand. On the other hand, China's primary silver fund collapsing by its maximum daily limit while its own manager openly admitted the situation had gone too far too fast. Two headlines, same asset, same week, completely opposite directions. And understanding how both of these things can be true at the same time is the entire purpose of this video. Because the silver market in 2026 is not a simple story. It is not a story about one country, one fund, or one price chart. It is a story about the collision of genuine long-term structural forces and short-term speculative excess. It is a story about what happens when the fundamentals of a market are real and powerful, but the speed at which the market prices those fundamentals in becomes dangerously disconnected from reality. There is a difference between a bull market and a bubble. There is a difference between momentum driven by real economic forces and momentum driven purely by fear of missing out. And right now, in the silver market, both of those things are happening at the same time, in different places, for different reasons, and they are pulling the market in opposite directions with extraordinary force. This week, several forces converged all at once. A historic peace agreement between the United States and Iran sent oil prices sharply lower. A new Federal Reserve chairman is walking into his very first policy meeting against a backdrop of shifting inflation expectations. Central banks around the world continue to accumulate precious metals at an aggressive pace. Industrial demand from solar energy, electric vehicles, and artificial intelligence infrastructure is growing faster than the supply chain can respond. And physical silver inventories sitting in vaults and warehouses around the world have fallen to record low levels. Every single one of these forces matters. Every single one of them is connected, and understanding how they connect is what separates a serious economic decision from an emotional reaction to a price chart. This is where the analysis begins. There is a number that tells the whole story, not $72.70, not 10%, the number is 62. And once it is understood what that number actually represents, everything else about this week's silver market starts to make a very different kind of sense. Here is what happened. China has one fund, just one. That gives ordinary Chinese investors direct exposure to silver prices. It is called the UBSSDIC Silver Futures Fund. And in 2026, this fund has done something extraordinary. It has gained nearly 220% in a single year. For context, Shanghai silver futures themselves are up roughly 128% over the same period. The fund was not just tracking silver, it was outrunning it by a significant distance. Now that kind of performance attracts attention, and attention attracts money, and money, when it moves fast enough in a single direction, stops behaving rationally. Here's where the twist begins. When enormous amounts of money flood into a closed-end fund faster than the fund can absorb it, something mathematically strange starts to happen. The price that people are paying for shares in the fund begins to drift away from the actual value of the assets inside the fund. This gap is called a premium. At the start of this month, the UBSSDIC fund was already trading at a 7% premium above the actual silver it held. That is elevated. That is a warning signal to any experienced analyst, but it was manageable. Then came the real twist. By the middle of last week, that premium had not simply grown. It had exploded from 7% to nearly 62%. That means investors in China were paying 62% more for a share of this silver fund than the silver inside that fund was actually worth on the open market. They were not buying silver. They were buying the idea of silver. They were buying the excitement around silver. They were buying the fear of being left behind. And that is an entirely different thing, because what a 62% premium actually represents is not confidence in silver's fundamentals. It represents a market that has completely disconnected from reality. It represents momentum chasing dressed up as investing. And historically, without exception, every time a premium of that size has formed in any market anywhere in the world, the correction that follows has been sharp, fast, and deeply painful for the people who entered last. The correction arrived exactly on schedule. The fund dropped 10% in a single trading session, the maximum daily loss permitted under Chinese financial regulations. The absolute floor hit in one day. But here is what made this moment truly significant. It was not the drop itself that sent a signal to serious market observers around the world. It was what the fund manager did after the drop. UBSSDIC announced immediate restrictions on new subscriptions. The cap on Class C shares, the preferred entry point for short-term speculative traders, was slashed from 500 yuan down to somewhere between just 26 and 100 yuan, roughly $14. A fund manager, actively blocking new money from entering their own fund during one of the greatest bull runs that fund has ever seen. That does not happen when a manager believes the rally has further to run. That happens when a manager privately believes the opposite, and that quiet institutional decision carried far more information than any press release ever could. Everyone was watching China, the 10% crash, the 62% premium, the fund manager's quiet admission, and that attention was completely understandable. But while the entire financial world had its eyes fixed on a single fund in Shanghai, something far more serious was unfolding underneath the surface, something that had been building not for days or weeks, but for years. Here is the twist that changes everything about how this story should be understood. The chaos in China was speculative. It was driven by emotion, momentum, and the mathematics of an overheated premium. And speculative corrections, no matter how dramatic they appear, eventually resolve themselves. Premiums compress. Traders exit. Markets rebalance. But what is happening in the physical silver market right now cannot be resolved by a fund manager restricting subscriptions. It cannot be resolved by a regulatory cap or a cooling off period, because what is happening in the physical silver market right now is structural, and structural problems do not disappear. They compound. Right now, physical silver inventories sitting in certified vaults and warehouses around the world have fallen to record low levels. This is not a forecast. This is not a projection based on a model. This is a measurable, documented physical fact. The silver that used to sit in storage is no longer there, and the reasons why it is no longer there reveal something deeply important about where this market is actually heading. For most of the last century, silver was primarily thought of as a monetary metal, something people bought to protect wealth, something central banks held alongside gold, something jewelry makers and photographers consumed in relatively predictable quantities. That world no longer exists, because silver has quietly transformed into something the global economy cannot function without. Consider what is being built right now at an unprecedented pace across the United States, Europe, China, and Southeast Asia. Solar panel farms covering thousands of acres, generating electricity for millions of homes and businesses. Every single one of those solar panels contains silver, not as decoration, not as a symbol, as a functioning, irreplaceable electrical conductor without which the panel simply does not work. Now consider electric vehicles. Every EV rolling off a production line today contains significantly more silver than a traditional combustion engine vehicle. And EV production is not slowing down. It is accelerating in every major economy on the planet simultaneously, and then comes the twist that almost nobody is discussing publicly: artificial intelligence infrastructure. The data centers being constructed right now to power the global AI revolution require extraordinary amounts of electrical components, cooling systems, circuit boards, conductors, connectors. Every layer of that infrastructure touches silver, and these facilities are not being built one at a time. They are being built in clusters, in dozens of countries, at a pace that the silver supply chain was never designed to service. So the picture becomes clear. Three of the fastest growing industries in the entire global economy, solar energy, electric vehicles, and artificial intelligence, are all simultaneously accelerating their consumption of the same finite physical resource. And that resource is already running low. But here is where the final twist of this chapter arrives, because at the exact moment that industrial demand is exploding and physical inventories are collapsing, a geopolitical event happened over the weekend that most analysts initially read as bad news for silver. The United States and Iran reached a peace agreement. Less conflict, less fear, less reason to buy safe haven assets. On the surface, that should have pushed silver lower, but it did not. Because when that peace deal was announced, oil prices dropped sharply, and falling oil prices ease inflation pressure, and easing inflation pressure removes the urgency for central banks to keep interest rates elevated, and lower interest rate expectations are historically one of the most powerful forces that can drive precious metal prices higher. Peace had accidentally become fuel, and the silver market understood that immediately. Every serious investor reaches a moment where the data has been gathered, the analysis has been done, the forces have been identified and understood, and then comes the hardest part: deciding what to do with the information. Because markets do not move in straight lines, and the silver market right now is not presenting one clear path forward. It is presenting three, each one legitimate, each one possible, and each one carrying a completely different set of consequences for anyone with money, decisions, or a business exposed to commodity prices. Here is how each scenario unfolds. Scenario 1. The continuation. The Iran peace agreement is formally signed in Switzerland on June 19th without complications. Oil prices remain subdued. Inflation expectations continue drifting lower as a result. And when the Federal Reserve holds its first policy meeting under its brand new chairman, Kevin Warsh, the tone that emerges leans dovish, cautious, accommodating. In this scenario, silver consolidates around the $70 level for several days. The China situation stabilizes as the speculative premium compresses gradually rather than violently. Industrial demand data continues confirming the supply squeeze. And then, silver pushes higher, towards $75, possibly beyond. This is the scenario that retail investors are currently positioned for. It is the most visible scenario, the most discussed, the most anticipated, and that is precisely why it deserves the most skepticism. Because when everyone is positioned for the same outcome, markets have a habit of delivering something else entirely. Scenario 2. The pullback. The Iran deal hits a last-minute complication, a single ambiguous headline, a diplomatic disagreement over the sequencing of sanctions relief. Nothing catastrophic, but enough to inject uncertainty back into oil markets. Simultaneously, Kevin Warsh surprises everyone. Here is the twist that almost nobody is discussing right now. Kevin Warsh is not just a new Fed chairman. He is a Fed chairman with a well-documented history of prioritizing financial stability over stimulus. A chairman who has previously argued that central banks should be more disciplined, not less, during periods of asset price inflation. And what has silver just done? It has hit an all-time high. If Warsh steps to the podium and signals even mild concern about asset valuations, if his language carries even a trace of hawkishness that the market was not expecting, the reaction in precious metals could be swift and significant. Add to that a China silver fund still carrying an elevated premium even after its 10% crash, still working through speculative excess that one bad day did not fully resolve, and silver finds itself testing support in the mid-60s. Not a collapse, but a correction sharp enough to shake out every investor who entered this market based on momentum rather than analysis. Scenario 3, the scenario nobody wants, but everyone should prepare for. Both things happen at once. The Iran deal moves forward, but with enough headline noise to create daily uncertainty. Warsh delivers a balanced message that satisfies nobody completely. China's silver fund experiences continued volatility as the premium slowly, painfully unwinds across multiple trading sessions rather than in one clean move, and silver enters a wide, brutal trading range. $65 on the low end, $72 on the high end, weeks of movement that feel significant in the moment but resolve nothing directionally. This scenario is the most psychologically damaging for investors, not because of the losses it produces, but because of the decisions it provokes. Because wide, choppy ranges cause investors to sell at the bottom of the range out of fear and buy back at the top out of relief, repeatedly, until the real directional move finally arrives without them. There is one more factor that connects all three scenarios: the Bank of Japan. This week, the Bank of Japan is widely expected to raise interest rates to defend the value of its own currency. And when Japanese rates rise, ripple effects move through global currency markets. The US dollar responds. And when the dollar moves, silver, priced in dollars, moves in the opposite direction. A stronger yen, a softer dollar, silver, catches a tailwind from a decision made in Tokyo that most Western investors will not even notice until after it has already moved the market. The forces at work this week are not isolated. They are connected, and the investors who understand those connections are the ones who will be positioned correctly when the dust finally settles.